Hey everybody, welcome back to another LEGO City update. Today we're going to be making some landscaping improvements all over the place. We're going to start right over here underneath the curved section of raised train track. Got to remove about 8 studs of green mills work there. That goes right up against the sidewalk. And then also deconstruct a bunch of the rock work that meets up with the corner of the raised walkway there. The reason I'm doing this is because I want there to be an embedded pathway underneath that train track there. And I want that pathway to have a little bit of depth. So we've got to remove a bunch of the mills work. Now that the deconstruction is taken care of, it's time to start reconstructing this area. So I'm going to lay some 1x2 and 2x2 bricks just to rebuild some of the mills around the perimeter of the pathway that we want to create. And I'm actually creating a new foundation of mills work underneath there, which is 2 plates tall. So it's got some 2x2 and 1x2 plates underneath some of the 4x4 light gray plates. And I'm going to border that pathway there with some 2x green brick on either side. And then fix up some of the rock work here so that it better matches this area. So I actually reduced the height of it. And after reducing the height of it, I had to change some of the underlying support brick and retop it with dark gray. And then just decorated again with the slopes and she-slopes and all that different type of stuff in this area. So now the path has a light gray foundation, and I'm going to cover that with 1x2 ingot tiles using 2 different colors. There's like a metallic color and also just standard light bluish gray. So yeah, this pathway is going to go underneath the train track, and it's also going to connect to our concrete boardwalk there. That's why the ingot tiles are going to lead up to the little staircase that I inserted there, which is just built with 1x plate and 1x tile. I also want to give the walkway an interesting shape, so I'm using some wedge plates to do that. And I'm able to attach those just because I swapped out some of the 1x2 ingot tiles with 1x2 plates or 1x1 plates. Finish off the sidewalk tiling there, clean up a few things, and there you go. We've transformed this area. I think that looks a lot better. I love the ingots and the fact that we inset it a little bit there. Also the wedge plates on either side just gives it that interesting shape. Did we have to inset it or embed it in the mills? No, not really, because there was enough clearance. But I think it just adds another texture, another dimension. It just looks a little bit better than having it right on top of the tiles. And now we finally have an exit for this concrete boardwalk here, so pretty happy with that. Now the surrounding area definitely has a lot of studs. I've thrown down a bit of vegetation here in the past, but I've always said all the green spaces in the LEGO City are eventually going to be upgraded with more vegetation, flowers, trees, bushes, and all that different type of stuff. So now we just need to go ahead and transform all of this green space. So our new thing is to build the repetitive aspect of the LEGO City at home. This is our second day of doing it, and we plan on making this a new tradition. But for example, I'm building saplings right now with the candlesticks and fern elements. And last night we were building flowers, and Mrs. Brixie's building flowers beside me here. And this is everything that we've got built so far. And we just brought all the parts that we need home, and we plan on doing a lot more. We're having a lot more nights like this, building trees and everything like that, just because these things take hours. I think this represents probably like 4 or 5 hours of labor in this bucket alone. So if we can get a lot of this repetitious stuff done here at home rather than at the studio, well, then we're going to get a lot more done in the city. So it's good. What's funny? Oh, I see. Just the scene right now? Yeah, Tico's pretty cute. Here's the end result of our flower building night. So we've got some saplings in here. Some are 3 candlesticks tall, and some are 4 candlesticks tall. So we've got some height variation there. And then we have our flowers. We use the regular green fern elements with the green leaves, stems, and flowers in all different types of colors. And we've also used some of the 3-pronged stem pieces and different colors of flowers. And there's just all sorts of varieties in here. Most of this was built from items from the pad wall, which is pretty amazing. And now I can pair those up with our miscellaneous vegetation bin, where we have like some pre-made sections of hedge. We can put that around the train track. Just all sorts of random stuff in there. Also some other things to create different types of details like cheese slopes, curved slopes, 1x1s, and all that. And I think I'm gonna mix in a bunch of the wedge plates in dark green along like the wall for the train track and maybe along the concrete boardwalk as well, just to change up some of the colors. Got some of our pre-molded trees and just a bunch of different stuff here that's gonna help us add details to this area. All right, may as well start right over here by the train track, sort of take off where we left off. Just gonna lay some of the smaller details like the cheese slopes and the rocks and stuff, and then work my way to the larger things, that being trees. The last clip probably went by too quickly to notice that I was actually laying wedge plates in the dark green all the way along the side of the dark gray palisade wall there that supports the train track, and also along the concrete boardwalk there. So I'm just laying them randomly. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe we can mix in a different shade here because there's a lot of green in my city, but I need to try and break up that color just by introducing things like different types of vegetation, the wedge plates, the flowers, all that different type of stuff. And I think the wedge plates do a great job of just framing the area, and then we can put all the other stuff in the center between the two wedge plates on either side. So I think that works, beauty. Gonna hop back over here and pop in some more details underneath the curved track there. You wanna hear something funny? We're already out of saplings. Mrs. Bricksie and I built flowers and saplings for a total of 4 episodes of Survivor, 45 minutes each, 2 of us doing it. Yeah, those little repetitious builds, they take a long time, but it's definitely worth it, and I'm glad we found a solution. So the next thing I'm gonna do is go through that like miscellaneous bin of vegetation. Definitely need to sort that, but I'm not gonna take care of that today, maybe another day. But I'm gonna pull out the pre-made hedges that we have. These were actually from the amusement park. We used these over by the farmer's market when we recently upgraded that area and relocated it as well. But I think we can take a lot of these and merge them together and then use them by the train station there. What's really neat about these is they're built with the 1x4 limb elements or leaf elements that we found on the pad wall. Woohoo! Also the leaves that we used to fill them in were found on the pad wall as well. But what's really neat about it is when you interlock them the way that we're doing it, it actually allows you to create different shapes with the hedge. So it's sort of like malleable. You can make it look like a snake or you can curve it. It's really cool. I think it's a great way to change up the fence line rather than having like a masonry wall or a fence. We can do something with a hedge. So yeah, just created a couple different ones there, and now I'm creating a super long one and I'm building it from scratch. Luckily for us, we have more of those 4 long leaf elements, so we can create a bunch of hedges just like this one here. But yeah, this one is huge. I think it's the longest hedge I've ever created. Now comes the hard part, placing them. It's interesting when you put these by a train track because trains, they usually have like noses that come off the wheels, like off the front wheels, so they take corners quite wide. So you just got to make sure you position it properly so that the train doesn't collide with the fence or the hedge or the movie screen or whatever you have by the train track. But what I'm going to do is put that long snaky one there, starting by the Ferris wheel there and working its way all the way to the parking lot entrance. And this is rather difficult to place just because it's really hard to reach that area in the city. That is the furthest point where I have to reach. So I decided to remove a couple road plates, hop up on the table, and then put in a couple different points of attachment along the train track there so it has that nice S-curve shape. Next up, I'm gonna pop in back behind that Ferris wheel there, put in a row of wedge plates in dark green, and then put in the hedges, and then start with the small details, working my way up to the larger details. However, with that said, we're out of the sapling trees, and I left all that material at home, so can't build more. I guess we could relocate some from other parts of the city, but I just don't see why I would do that. Now I'm filling in some details beside the train station there, just sort of doing the exact same thing. The last area where I want to add more vegetation and more pops of color is right behind the 1950s diner there and right beside the movie screen. That's just going to fill this area in nicely. I was thinking maybe we could put a pond or something back there, but I think it might be too cramped, and sometimes it's just nice to have some green areas to break up the city. You know, we've got a lot of buildings and stuff, and I like using these green areas to offer something different and also just to space everything out. If you cramp things together too tight, it just doesn't look that good, and I like having the green space. But maybe eventually some of these areas could change into something else. But I think there's nothing wrong with having various types of vegetation, that being flowers, bushes, trees, all that different type of stuff. The next subtle change that I want to take care of is actually swapping out all of the 1x4 dark trans blue tiles along the boardwalk here. It's funny because originally I used these because it gave you the perception of depth, but I also used them because I ran out of the 1x2 trans light blue tiles, which of course is what I'm swapping them with right now. And I think it just looks better when it's all the same color because we have the depth progression with the plate work underneath. So we don't really need to represent it with the tiles on the surface. I'm also replacing all of the trans dark blue cheese slopes. The reason I use those is because I actually found both of those elements on the pad wall, of course. And once I get that all swapped up, I think it looks a lot better. And I go through and I add just a few trans clear cheese slopes onto the waves and also around them where we have some exposed studs. I am waiting to get more of those, and I am thinking about upgrading all of my waves in general. I saw some very inspiring waves when I was at the Lego house in Bill in Denmark. But those waves just like are very part intensive. They're huge, they require a lot of different parts. So for now, we're just using our 2x2 trans clear slopes and cheese slopes. Okay, we should test out the train here. See if it can sneak by those hedges. Love this area here. Upgraded water too, and woo, okay. Perfect, look at that. This area looks pretty good, but we can always level it up more. We do plan on adding more trees over here and also more saplings once we get around to building those. So we will add some more vegetation to that area there, some taller stuff, and also more of the saplings to these areas here. But I really like the way that this turned out. The pops of color from the flowers and the different shades of green just looks really good. And the consistent water too, that's just much better. The dark blue just didn't really match that well. It just sort of looked odd. And we've got our little pathway underneath the train track here as well, which is pretty sweet. I'll ingot tile it off. So now this actually makes sense. We have an exit for our concrete boardwalk there. There's always more that we can do all throughout the city and more to this area even. We plan on continuing to develop areas like this, especially like along here. For example, we could run dark green wedge plates all the way along the side of the track and then maybe do the same thing on the other side. Or maybe this is just like freshly mowed and the city does a good job of keeping that looking pretty fresh. So maybe we don't have to do it on the other side, but we could also do it over here. And then we have some other areas over here by the train, the what is it called again? The Studgate train station that we could level up as well. But this area is sort of like not developed yet. So we don't know what structures and stuff are gonna go here, but we can and will level all of this green space up. And this is just a great example of what we can do with all the green space throughout the city and of course throughout the countryside as well. Yeah, pretty awesome. Oh, you know what? I took a before clip. Let's have a look at that. So here's a little shot of this area before. So once again, no walkway underneath the curved section of raised train track there. And the green space is just very, very, very sparse. Just a few trees and a few details, not much other than that, especially when you look at the area behind the Ferris wheel. Yeah, so I think this definitely looks a lot better. And once again, we can go through here and level up the landscaping even more than we already have here today in this video and all throughout the entire city. It's always fun. Perfect. Everybody, we hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff coming out in the near future. Have a great day. Bye for now.